Welcome to Red and Yellow, the podcast about all things to do with refereeing at grassroots level, looking at the laws of football, speaking to guests and trying to help you become a better referee, with Adam Humphreys and me, Ed Connell.
Hello, it's Adam here and welcome to this episode of Red or Yellow. I just wanted to jump on here before the episode started to remind you to please send us in your questions about anything refereeing, and that way we can hopefully help you improve your game as well as help all of the listeners improve their games as well. It's always nice to hear your opinions and views on things, so please send those in. You can do that via email, that's redorYellowpod@gmail.com, or find us on Instagram, it's at redorYellowpod. Added to that, if you would subscribe to the podcast, that would mean an awful lot to us. And then that way, our meandering chats about refereeing will magically appear on your phone whenever we release a new episode. And lastly, all views expressed on this podcast are that of myself, Adam Humphreys, and not that of Football Queensland. Now that's all done. Let's get on with the show. Well, hello, Edward.
Morning, Adam. It's another one of those rare occasions when it's morning time in the UK and evening time over there. I have to say, you look a lot better in the evenings.
Thank you. Which means I'm allowed to drink an old-fashioned while we record. You're not.
Well, look at that. You're sat there with a glass of alcohol, and I'm just back from walking the dog and about to go out and walk the dog again. I've got to do my Everest Base Camp training.
What? Sorry, what?
I'm trekking to Everest Base Camp.
When?
And I've got beginning of May.
How is this the first time I'm hearing about this?
I have no idea. I was originally booked to do it during COVID and it got cancelled.
Right.
And so I rebooked. And the nice thing is that last time I was going to do it by myself or with a group of people, group of strangers. But this time, because I'd spoken about it with people, my cousin and one of my uncles are joining me.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, I fly to Kathmandu beginning of May. And then we get a small plane up to Lukla, which is, if anybody knows, that port up in the mountains that you see lots of pictures on YouTube because planes crash quite frequently going in and out of there because it's a runway sticking out basically of the mountainside with no room for error. And then it's a sort of 10-day trek to Everest Base Camp, which has been a long-held dream of mine.
I bet
and then we spend a night at Everest Base Camp, which is probably the one thing I'm most excited about. And then back down again.
Does recording equipment work at like 50,000 feet or not? Because how are we going to get a podcast out?
It might be problematic. We might have to take a pause for those 2 weeks whilst I'm away. We might have to do a double recording before I go away.
I doubt it's 50,000 feet either, is it? You know, how high are you going to be?
It's about 5,500 meters.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
5K in the sky.
Yeah, and so fitness generally has been good, but I obviously need to sort of get into the habit of walking longer distances. So dog and me are about to go off trekking around Richmond Park for a few miles. So
isn't your dog like really quite old?
No, he's like 7.5, which in dog years is probably about is middle-aged.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I thought you was just trekking this elderly dog around Richmond because you wanted to go to Everest.
He will love it, and me will be sleeping all evening as well. How's things with you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Not too bad. It's a bit hot here today, but that's okay. Football's been a bit up and down, obviously because of my feet and my injury. But
you posted something on social media last time we recorded. You said that
I'm done for the season.
And that was it for the season. You were sort of sounding quite negative about the future, but then there was a social media post I saw of yours where you kind of seemed to suggest that there was some positive news. So there
was. So I saw my physio last Tuesday, and I've increased the strength in my toes. I doubled the strength in my big toes, which is good, which is a good start. Now I've got to strengthen the rest of my toes. They're called the lesser toes, believe it or not. And from there, I've just basically there's a pathway back. Pain is down. Running on it is still difficult, but not impossible. And like generally managed pain each and every day is okay. So it's looking like there might be a pathway back. Maybe if I give myself a good month or two of proper rehab, then I might be able to run on them again in the foreseeable future at least. So that'll be good.
Has your season ended now?
No, we've just started. We're about a month.
Oh, you just started.
Month to 6 weeks in. Yeah.
So there's some possibility you might end up still refereeing the season all going to plan.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hope so. But I'm not going to lie, I've quite enjoyed the time off as well.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, just it's nice just pottering about the house and having a bit more time on your hands, because obviously a lot of the games I do, because of where I live, like it's an hour and a half commute to the game alone, so it's like 3 hours, and you're at the ground for 6 hours, and then it's a long old day. So
well, I mean, I think it's a big commitment. I think people kind of forget it's a big commitment, whatever level you're at, really, because
yeah, of course,
I get asked to do sort of game in North London, for example, and in terms of mileage, not very far, but it's you effectively have to allow about an hour each way to get there.
Yeah.
And like you say, so it's 2 hours of travel, getting there before the game, refereeing the game. It's a sort of massive chunk out of the day.
Yep.
And it's even worse if you're sort of doing it at high levels like you and others will be, where, as you say, you're at the ground for 6 hours rather than sort of maybe 2.5. But
that is because we I run a line and then I do a middle. So we're doing 2 games of football in one go.
Right.
Yeah.
I see. But even still, if you're going and you're sort of getting there an hour ahead of the game and you then got the game, it's effectively 2 hours and you've got a bit of time afterwards, it's still a sort of 4-hour time that you're there.
It's a
plus
tough
travel.
Day. Yeah, it is a tough day.
It is a big old commitment.
It is.
Have you got any news? I've got a few sort of small items of news, but I think I saw something on the internet relating to some referees near you, didn't I?
Yeah, Page and Paula, they've gone global.
Yeah.
Bless them. Yeah, so they're the first 2 identical twins to referee a professional game of football. Definitely in Australia together. Definitely in Australia, but I think potentially the world. I'm not sure if it's probably ever happened again, especially identical twins.
I saw the article online because I sort of get on my Google feed sort of refereeing stories from around the world come up, and I saw that, and I saw it was it Townville or Townsville?
Yeah, they're from Townsville, so they're like Queensland referees, and they live in Townsville. I think the game was probably in Brisbane or somewhere. And one of them was the 4th official, and the other was the assistant referee. They're lovely girls as well.
You've met them, have you?
Yeah. So they came out to we flew them in last year at some point to kind of do a little tour of games to get some experience and to just enjoy different kind of football away from Townsville, because they're in like the academy system here and stuff. And so part of that, they came out to Toowoomba, which is where I live, and I coached them on 2 games here. And we had a good day there. And then Paige, I think it was Paige, she flew down for the FQPL 1 women's final in Brisbane at the end of last season. So I had to ferry her from the airport to the ground and back again for that, to make that happen for us. So yeah, no, they're both really great girls. Fantastic referees, and it's a great achievement. Yeah, a really great achievement.
I couldn't work out from the article. It wasn't particularly clear as whether it was just a first for Australia or first of the world, but as you say, it's be quite rare if it has happened before. Probably hasn't, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's very rare, isn't it? But yeah, no, it's a great story for like regional areas of Queensland as well. Like, it's incredible, and it shows that accessing high levels of football is there if you're willing to put in the work, and you're willing to do the talent and stuff, and you have the talent and everything. It's great. It's amazing. It's amazing how like accessible it feels to me, like, because I know them personally and stuff, whereas before kind of everyone else has made it, and then you get to know them. So that's really good, and it's great kudos to like the whole system here in Queensland that's been implemented by everybody, and it's been good. Really good. Yeah, so that was good news. Go on.
Bit of news was producer Terry, who came on and was our first interviewee on the show, and listeners will remember that Terry was telling us that he was going through the promotion route for this season, wanted to go from 7 to 6. Well, he got it. He got his promotion.
He did very well.
And the nice sort of tail end to the season for him is that I know that he also was an assistant on a cup final as well.
Good work, Tesla.
So it sounds as though it's been a very, very good season for Terry. And I saw him not long ago and said to him that, as we'd promised, that we'd get him back on the show again so that he can sort of give us the benefit of hindsight, having now gone through the promotion procedure, to tell us how it's been. But yeah, so that's good news. Any other listeners who've had any appointments, do you know of?
I know one of our dear friends and loyal listeners and like marketing helper person, Lacey, she got a cup final appointment and she did very well, which was great. She was talking to me about that, which was lovely. So that's good. But that's all I know of right now. Obviously, all of the people I know in the world of refereeing these days have finals on until September or maybe October. I'm not too sure. So yeah,
I just want to bring people's attention, and I'll tweet the link to it and maybe put it out on the Insta feed. But as I said earlier on, I get Google sort of sends me an update of stories, refereeing stories. But there was one I missed, which was an article that came out earlier this year, which I think is people should have a read of. It was an article in The Guardian, I think in January this year, and I don't know why I missed it. The title of the article is I never understood why anyone would want to be a referee. Now I do. And the person involved went and spent a day at the PGMOL training camp to see how referees are now being trained. So it's a really interesting.
That would be interesting.
Article about what she learned and why she sort of was persuaded as to why it might be good to be a referee. But what was interesting, the reason why it sort of caught my attention is we spoke about the offside law and about when a defender kicks the ball and whether in a missed kick and sort of whether or not that then puts somebody onside or not. And we talked about how there's a whole host of factors that you take into account about the speed, positioning, distance from the ball, all that sort of thing, as to whether or not it was they had a proper opportunity to play the ball.
Yeah.
And what was quite comforting, and I thought would be quite comforting to listeners, is that she said that at one stage during the training camp, I sat in the back of a session surrounding the new IFAB rules about whether defending player's touch was deliberate or deflection, determining whether the attacking player in an offside position is played onside or not. And what was quite interesting is that she said there was just a whole raft of opinions about the same thing.
Yeah.
How you can put together a whole host of the very best referees or those aspiring to be the best referees.
Yeah.
And yet everybody still has, she said each time they looked at a scenario, there was no consensus among the table because, how do you determine the intent of the player? So I just thought it was quite interesting from that perspective that, we're not alone. Everybody finds that particular.
You hear stories here from like the AFC conferences that they do, like the Asian Football Confederation, I think it's called. It's basically like FIFA, not FIFA, it's like UEFA, but for Asia. And they'll all get in a room and they'll sort the referees down. They're like, we can't leave the room until we have consensus on like this decision. So they'll play a video of a foul or a tackle or something. And then they're like, we have to have consensus. And they'll end up in the room for ages until they all agree on the final outcome of what to have. And it takes a long time to find that because it's a game of angles, perspective, interpretation, understanding. It's a game that is just as grey as grey.
I know. I also think it's really important for non-referees to kind of hear that sort of thing being said, because I think lots of people who watch football fans, think that when it comes to laws of football, it's black and white.
Yep.
It's either an offence or it's not an offence. And, a lot of it is, as we've said so many times, down to an individual's perception, interpretation, as they attempt to do their very best to apply the law.
Absolutely.
But, not everybody will reach the same decision. And I think people need to understand that. But yeah, no, I'll put the link up to the article because it's quite an interesting article. And I think there's also some videos online now about sort of what's going on at the PGMOL training centre. I mean, they seem to have upped the ante quite a bit in terms of how they're preparing people for becoming top flight referees. It's great, really good.
Speaking of which, though, talking about making things more open and understanding and trying to educate the public, did you have a chance to listen back to our last episode, my interview with David?
I did. I listened to it. In fact, I was going on a sort of bit of a long drive, and I listened to the episode. I thought it was great. I think I said to you before, I think he's got a great voice for
radio,
radio, hasn't he? I mean, it sounds like, whenever I think of my times on the holidays in America, you get sort of the American DJ coming on, and no, it was really interesting. I thought it was good. It was just, I think the thing I took away from it all was it doesn't matter where you are in the world, where you're refereeing the world. It's still the same sorts of issues that everybody's facing.
Yep.
And one of the things you spoke about, in fact, you just jogged my memory about another news article. But one of the things you both spoke about there was sort of younger referees and sort of the how difficult it is for them to sort of manage situations. In fact, there was another article this week about a match that had to be abandoned. I think it was up in Liverpool area, Bootle area, where a match got abandoned because of problems, with violence towards the referee, and the referee was under 18, wearing the distinctive yellow armband.
Yep.
I mean, it is just shocking. But no, I thought it was a really good episode, and I'd love to. I'm just sorry that I wasn't able to, for time zone reasons, take part in it. But I'm sure we'll have another chance to speak to him, and hopefully
I hope so. It was a really good chat, and he's a really good guy. So yeah, it was fun, and I took a lot from it as well. It was a good conversation. So no, I was really happy with it.
Yeah, that was good. I think that's all the news I had, though.
Excellent.
I think we've got to, Adam.
We're there.
Try and finish off.
We're there. How exciting is this?
The laws of the game.
18 months later.
Well, to be fair, some of the laws took up several episodes.
Wasn't my original pitch to you about this podcast? Look, even if we only do 17 weeks, at least it's done.
Yeah, that was the plan. And I think our original plan was, what on earth we're going to talk about once we've done all the laws of the football, which we thought was only going to take us a few weeks. But well, here we are, 18 months later, still
we are
going strong. And listeners, I'm sure will be delighted to know that we're not proposing to end the podcast now that we're getting to the end of the laws. And couldn't be further from the truth, actually. Only just really getting going. But so are we going to finally
it's a big one. It's a big law, this one.
And the good thing about doing that is, Adam, is that then when they introduce new laws for the next season, we can start fresh again.
Oh, speaking of which, on news, thinking about it quickly before we jump into the very, very complex law of the corner kick.
Although you say that, there is a part of this law that I simply cannot understand.
Why am I not surprised?
And I'm hoping you're going to interpret it for me, because I simply don't get it. Sorry, you were going to say?
They've canned the blue card idea, haven't they?
Yes, that didn't last long, did it?
I'm not surprised. It was the worst idea ever.
I mean, it was a nonsense idea that there was going to be blue card for what was dissent offences, isn't it? Was it going to be like a sin bin?
Yeah, it's a sin bin. Yeah, and for professional fouls, for stopping Protestant attacks. But I'm so glad it got canned. Like when it first came out, lots of people were being really positive about it, and I felt like I was one of the only few people who was actually going, no, this is just not needed in the professional game in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And I'm glad. In my opinion, I'm glad common sense has prevailed.
I'm not sure it was welcomed by anybody, was it? I mean, I'm trying to rack my brains, but
I spoke to a fair number of people who were in favour of it, like referees alike and stuff, and things like that. But not. I mean, I don't know anyone I don't know any Premier League managers were in favour of it or anything like that. No. Yeah, I mean, look, the argument can still stand. Well, how are we going to get on top of dissent?
Yeah,
and I appreciate that, and I think that's a good nuanced argument and debate to have. But I just don't think 10-minute sin bins is the way to deal with it, to be honest.
No, I also think it was going to be so disruptive to the game. I mean, I suppose people who follow rugby will say, well, it's worked well in rugby by having sin bins, but
rugby is a very different sport.
It is, but the point of it is that sort of if you're going to sort of try and create an argument for it, is that it does have an impact on the game. Having a player off, even in a game of rugby where you sort of only go down to 14, in a game of football, if you go one person down, it will impact the game, and that's the whole idea.
It doesn't impact the game in football as much as it opens up the game of rugby, but it will close down the game of football. Because in football, in order to score a goal, you're aiming for something that is like 1/16 the size of the goal line. Whereas in rugby, you're aiming for a try. And you can also score at distance, and you can score getting over the try line. So having a player taken off actually makes the game more attacking. Whereas in football, what will happen is it will make the game a lot more defensive. And it's not going to open up the game in a way that is going to make it any more interesting to the viewer, any more intriguing. I don't know what the stats are, but I bet more teams score a try in rugby when they're down to 14 men. Like when the team that is down to 14 men concede a try or concede points a lot more regularly than a team concedes a goal on a football field when they're down to 10 men.
Yeah, it's difficult comparisons to make, isn't it? Because obviously in rugby you can score points from either tries or kicking. So there's a big opportunity. I mean, listen, I understand the contrary argument. People say that the stats suggest that the game becomes a bit more defensive when there's only 10 people on the pitch, because obviously people change their formations and sort of park the bus a bit. And I think one of the arguments against introducing it was going to impact upon the entertainment value of people watching. But what I was really trying to get across is teams don't want to be down to 10 men. And so that the motivation to keep 11 people on the pitch means that you get rid of dissent. Listen, we all know there's no obvious and clear solution to this problem, but dissent is a big problem. I think this season we've done better with the introduction of the new laws of sort of things like throwing the ball away, that sort of stuff. That's really worked. I mean, if you look at what strikes me now is when I watch European games, so I don't think that law, if it is in place, I don't think it's been applied in Europe, and it's really noticeable. When you watch European games, players who sort of kick the ball away and no action being taken, you're not seeing that anymore in certainly top flight football in the UK. And so things like that they've managed to get rid of, which is good. But yeah, I mean, the blue card we said was a disaster, and I think it had a sort of a 2-week shelf life, and everybody then said no, it's rubbish.
Common sense prevailed.
Yeah, I've not heard of. Have you heard of any rumours of any sort of new IFAB laws coming in for next season? So I'm desperately hoping that the handball law is going to be
shin pads. I've heard shin pads might be regulated. No, I'm serious. I've heard they might be regulated. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember where I heard it. It's probably just some Instagram story that is not true. But I think honestly, I genuinely think I'm going to win this battle with you first. Shin pads are going to get legislated on before handball is, because the handball law is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
No, the handball law is not absolutely fine.
It is. There's nothing wrong with it, mate.
It's a total.
If you can't implement it, it's not my problem. But I've never had a problem with handball.
I can implement it as it currently stands, but it is a ridiculously framed and worded law at the moment, and it needs revising. And if they do revise it, they're not going to change what legislates handball. Like, they're going to keep it the way it is. They might just change the wording on it. That doesn't count. They have to fundamentally change the law for me to win, for you to win this battle. But they're gonna sort shin pads out before they sort handball out. I'm confident. Problem is everybody knows what is a handball, what's not a handball in football, and yet they do their very best to create laws to make that decision-making process extremely difficult. Impenetrable for people to understand, but there we go. Right, that's news. Let's deal then with Law 17, our final law, entitled very imaginatively the corner kick.
I feel a little bit emotional about this, mate.
I don't. I mean, I'm quite pleased that this be the end of the laws, if I'm perfectly honest. Introduction. This will come as an enormous shock to everybody, but a corner kick is awarded when the whole of the ball passes over the goal line, on the ground or in the air, having last touched a player of the defending team, and a goal is not scored. And a goal may be scored directly from a corner kick, but only against the opposing team. If the ball directly enters the kicker's goal, a corner kick is awarded to the opponents. That's another one that is really, I mean, honestly, sometimes I do wonder, sitting down at the creation of these laws, somebody said, but what happens if I take a corner kick and rather than sort of playing it towards the goal which I'm trying to score, I kick it or miskick it and it goes the full length of the pitch, defeating all my players and the goalkeeper, and goes into my goal? I'll tell you what, let's make that a corner to the opposition team. Anyway.
Gust of wind, mate. A gust of wind could make it happen. I've seen it from a drop kick by a goalkeeper. He's booted it to the halfway line and wind has taken it back over into an own goal.
Yeah, that's fine, but this is from one corner of the pitch.
I know. But it's also,
and it would have to go past 10 other players,
No,
including
'cause
the keeper.
the 10 other players are in the penalty area, aren't they?
Oh dear. Anyway, so that bit I understood, obviously. And then the next bit in total procedure, I also understood. The ball must be placed in the corner nearest to the point where the ball passed over the goal line.
Oh,
The
right.
ball, but
So
on that point,
that basically means if it's gone over the left post, it has to be taken on the
yes,
left side of the field. That's what it means.
I understand that. But what I want to ask you is, it seems to me that when it goes over the bar, as in terms of shot, no one seems to be overly sort of
Bothered
dictatorial in
what side
terms
it has to
of
go.
it
Who
was
cares?
definitely on the right side. It just goes for a corner, and it seems that the corner kicker elects, unless the referee has pointed themselves.
Well, exactly. If it's me, it's whatever ham or whistle's not in at that point, and I'm just going to point that way.
Yeah, fine. I mean,
It doesn't matter.
That makes sense. The ball must be stationary and is kicked by a player of the attacking team. The ball's in play when it's kicked and clearly moves, which I think causes quite a bit of debate with these videos you see online where a player effectively
Touches
puts the
it.
ball down, puts their foot on top of it, and sort of sneakily then that's the kick.
Manchester United did it, didn't they? Right? Was it Ryan Giggs and Wayne Rooney? They did it.
Yeah, this causes a lot of controversy, and if you sort of go on YouTube, you'll see there'll be lots of examples about this, because the classic example that you see is a player puts it down, they then put their foot on top of the ball, and where it's controversial is where they kind of motion as though they're moving their leg, but the ball kind of, whether the ball's moved or not is a big issue. Now the law only says it has to move. It doesn't say it has to be a full rotation or anything like that.
Here's a question: Does move involve if you push it down into the pitch?
Well, see, those are the controversial ones, because a player sort of pushes their foot on it and pushes it down. They then trot off.
The ball is moved,
and everyone thinks, oh, someone else is taking the corner now. But in fact, the players thinks they have taken the corner, and another player then comes in and dribbles the ball away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I personally think, I mean,
I think in football you're looking at the ball moving, rolling on the floor in some way.
I think so.
I think that's a fair, reasonable interpretation of that.
I think it needs to be obvious that there has been a movement. I don't think it has to be a full rotation, but there has to be something which demonstrates it's moved. I don't think just plonking your foot on top is sufficient.
The corner flag post must not be moved.
Yeah, which is you know what it's like at grassroots. Everybody sort of, corner flags leaning, so they sort of pull it out and put it down, and so that's not allowed to. No.
Opponents must remain at least 9.51 meters, 9.15
from the arc.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's something which people often forget. It's not 10 yards from the corner; it's 10 yards from the arc.
Does it really matter? The arc isn't going to add that much. I wouldn't be worrying about that if I was a referee. No, if after the ball is in play, so offences and sanctions. If after the ball is in play, the kicker touches the ball again before it has touched another player, an indirect free kick is awarded. If the kicker,
so we stop there. Can we stop there a second?
Is this the bit you don't understand?
This is a bit I don't understand, right? So that I get. If you kick it twice from a corner, right, it is an indirect free kick. But this is the bit I don't get. If the kicker commits a handball offence, I mean, I can't understand what this is. A direct free kick is awarded, and a penalty kick is awarded if the offence occurred inside the kicker's penalty area, unless the kicker was the goalkeeper, in which case an indirect free kick is awarded. Now, I don't know. I have no idea what they're on about there. What on earth are they talking about?
That's very bizarre. They're saying if the goal,
it's not just me, is it?
If the attacking goalkeeper takes the corner kick, boots it high in the air, runs into the penalty area, and then decides to catch the corner that he has taken, it's then an indirect free kick.
No, I'm not sure that's what.
A penalty kick is awarded. Hang on, let me think about this. A penalty kick is awarded if the offence occurred inside the kicker's penalty area. But when's that ever going to happen at a corner?
I don't understand this at all. It makes absolutely no sense.
Unless I'm not the only one. Unless the kicker was the goalkeeper, in which case an indirect free kick is awarded. if the kicker commits a handball offence, they're definitely talking about the kicker of the corner, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the whole point. It says after the ball's in play, you kick the ball again. All right, before it goes to the player, indirect free kicks. That is, we all know that, right?
And
what
then
I
if the
don't get
person
is
who took the corner
if the kicker commits a handball offence.
Yeah, so like
what,
if they kick it and then
into their hand,
or no, like if they miss kick it and then run after it, pick it up and go to put it back, that would be a direct free kick. If they do that to the point upon which it ends up in the penalty area, you have to award a penalty kick. What?
I don't think that's.
How are you going to give a penalty kick to the team that's committed the handball? It's a corner.
No, but no. But you're missing the bit where it says a penalty kick is awarded if the offence occurred inside the kicker's penalty area.
So he's got to kick the ball.
Not the opposition.
So he's got to kick the ball.
He's got to kick the ball back into
all the way
his own
back to his own area, chase after it, and then pick the ball up.
And if he then picks it up, it's a handball and a penalty, which obviously we all know that. I mean, I'm glad I'm not me going mad. And I
don't get it. I'd
love
for someone to clarify. You did some homework, did you? Makes a change.
Yeah, I always do homework, Adam, as the listeners know. I know this is all. I know you're reading this for the first time in about 4 years this morning, which is we're
first
very
time
grateful
ever in my life, mate.
For the viewers who haven't seen the footage, it's like, as Adam was reading that, there's this complete look of amusement and shock on his face when he suddenly realizes it's part of the laws of the game. But yes, Adam, when I was doing my prep for the show, I was sitting there thinking, I don't know what on earth they're on about.
I've got no idea. Honestly, not a clue.
Excellent.
I can't figure that out either. Normally I can, but I can't figure that out.
Any of the listeners that think they can make any sense at all of that, what sounds like an absurd law, please let us know so that we, can be enlightened.
Someone will be able to give us clarity on it. But I've had too many old fashions this evening.
Well, I'm slightly concerned that someone's just going to sort of write in with a sort of two
make it so clear. We're just idiots.
It's so obvious, as though to say, "What were you thinking of?"
Well, Ed, if you can't figure it out, I've got no chance.
Well, it's 10:50 in the morning. I haven't been drinking, and I haven't got a clue.
That makes a change, doesn't it? You haven't been drinking.
I haven't got a clue what on earth this means.
Right, should we finish it off?
Nice. Well, that is the end. That's the whole point. That's
no, because then if a player, while correctly taking a corner kick, deliberately kicks the ball at an opponent in order to play the ball again, but not in a careless or reckless manner, or using excessive force, the referee allows play to continue. So, kick it off someone, job done. That's it.
There we go.
Law's done. I suppose we've got to go through all the advice to match officials next now, don't we?
I don't think so, do we? Well, the next section is all about VAR.
Yeah.
And there's a glossary. No, I think
Q&A. I could ask you. We could test each other on questions and answers. That would be quite a good thing to do.
What we should do in one of the episodes is we should have some Q&As on the laws to.
We should.
See how well you've learnt them, I don't know, over the course of the last 18 months.
I used to play a game with my colleague, Sean, and we used to just type like really crazy situations that would happen on the football field and ask for the decision. We should play that.
Well, do you know who does that? If you follow the IFAB Twitter account, that they pose these sorts of sort of unlikely to ever be seen on the pitch scenarios and ask people to sort of give their answers. I mean, I have to admit, even though we've studied the law for the last 18 months, sometimes I sort of sit there and think to myself, I haven't got a clue what the answer is. Which is slightly concerning, isn't it? But yeah, anyway, that's the laws over, Adam.
Good stuff.
I'm very, very happy to say.
We made it!
Now, we did make it. Now, the good news, Adam, is that I have some fun facts about corners.
Oh, that's amazing. Cue jingle.
It's now time for Ed's Fun Facts.
Fun facts on the corner. I'm so excited.
Do you know what? There are, as listeners know, there are some weeks when I'm sort of looking for fun facts on the laws of the game where I can't find a single thing, or certainly not a single thing of interest. But bizarrely, when it comes to the corner, there's a whole host of information out there, and I had to do a bit of editing down, Adam, would you believe? But first of all, I thought it'd be interesting to find out what the origins of the corner kick are. And it's quite interesting, given that we've been talking about rugby, because under the original 1863 rules of association football, a ball that was kicked behind the goal line, which nowadays it was done by a defense team, would result in a corner. When that happened in the past, it was treated similarly to present day rugby. And so if an attacking player touched the ball down first, because of course you had to use your hands then, the attacking team was awarded a free kick, similar to a conversion in rugby. Whereas if a defending team touched the ball down first, the defending team was awarded a goal kick. So it was very much like a sort of crossover with the way that rugby worked. And in 1867, so 4 years later, they changed the laws. And they were hoping to try and make things a bit more straightforward. And what they did was they got rid of sort of the idea of corners completely. And so if it ever went behind the goal line, it then became a goal kick, regardless of who had come off.
Right.
Now, you can obviously see the flaw in that, because it was an opportunity for lots of time wasting, because the defensive team could have the ball and hoof it behind the goal line, knowing full well that they were only going to get a goal kick out of it. So that's the origins of it. But interestingly, when the corners were first introduced in 1872, in the sort of form in which we kind of come to recognise them today, you could be offside from a corner kick.
Oh, that's weird.
And it's even more weird because the reason for that was you could take whereas today we've got the sort of the arc in the corner where the ball has got to be sort of not over the arc when you take it.
Could you take it any distance you chose from the...
No, not any distance. This is why it was such a sort of bizarre situation. You could take it up to a yard from the actual corner itself. So there was a yard margin of in which space someone could potentially be offside.
Right.
Which is obviously...
Oh, so you could take it a yard up the touchline.
Exactly.
Right,
so if you were like loitering on the goal line as an attacking player, and your teammate took it a yard out from the goal line, that was obviously a technical offside offence. So unsurprisingly, in 1883, the laws of the game changed so that you couldn't be offside from a corner. Another sort of slight curiosity in the early origins of the corner kick, in that period between 1872, when it was introduced, until 1875, when they were obviously just trying to grapple with how this law was going to work, you were able to take the corner kick and then dribble the ball away yourself. So you didn't pass it. Whereas now, obviously, if you pass it yourself, it would be an indirect free kick.
And also, if you handballed it, it'd be a penalty to someone in some way, somehow.
Say that again.
Have I just stomped you? I literally saw the cogs. I literally saw the cogs working in your head then.
I was like, what's he talking about? What are you talking about?
Literally the law we just discussed. I went, if there's going to be a handball, there could end up being a penalty to someone in some way, somehow.
Oh, so yeah, obviously we just don't know. We just don't know how that scenario would play out. But it's just interesting. I can't believe
how much I stopped you in your tracks. That was so funny.
You could dribble the ball away from a corner kick.
I think that's quite a good idea. I don't mind that.
Do you? I mean,
yeah, I do. There'd be a lot less fouls.
Maybe it's because I'm sort of so used to the concept of what the corner kick is now that to change it to allow somebody to effectively dribble the ball in.
Like, they're not getting much of an advantage, are they? If you think about it, because they're so far from goal still. Like almost like a quick corner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I suppose. Another sort of slight anomaly when the law was first introduced, it was initially illegal to score directly from a corner kick.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I'm surprised it's not still, to be honest.
Well, do you know, it wasn't until they didn't change that law until 1924.
Right.
So is it not until so the corner kick introduced in 1872. So what's that? Sort of 50 years later, they sort of decided that you could then score a goal from a corner kick. Now, do you know what a goal scored direct from a corner kick is called? I'd never heard this phrase before in my life.
Yeah, it's called a wacky.
How strong are those old fashions? By the way?
Very strong, mate. Maker's Mark, 1974.
We need to finish this show quickly, I think, because the wheels are coming off at the Australia end of this. No, so I've never heard this before, but it is called an Olympic goal, or more commonly, an Olympico goal.
Right.
And apparently that all stems from the fact that on the 14th of June, 1924, when the law was changed in 1924, 14th of June, 1924, when IFAB formally legalized scoring directly from a corner as being legal, the first such goal was scored on 2nd of October, 1924 by Argentina's Cesario Onzari in a game against Uruguay. And they had just won the 1924 Olympic title. Right. So it seems the consequence of that, it got called Olympico.
Right.
And I've never heard that phrase before ever, but I've having Googled it, it is a terminology.
It's a bit like the Panenka or the Cruyff.
Yeah, exactly. And so the first recorded Olympico goal in England was scored by Billy Smith, playing for Huddersfield Town on the 11th of October 1924. Which woman scored the first Olympico goal at the Olympic Games, Adam? Think of the most high-profile women's football on the world stage over the last 10, 15 years.
Is it the American captain who's retired?
It is the American captain.
What's her name?
Yeah. Megan Rapinoe.
That's it, Rapinoe. Yeah.
Yeah. She scored the first Olympico goal in the 2012 World Cup semi-final against Canada, and then she also scored another one in the 2020 bronze medal match against Australia.
Are you surprised you don't see more of them?
No, not really, because if you think for two, what I think of fairly obvious reasons. One is the ball is being played from a position which means you've got to curve the ball to get it into the goal.
Which I don't think. I mean, I'm not a great player of football, but when you talk to most players who are quite good, it's a relatively easy thing to do that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with that. But secondly, you've got the fact that you're playing inevitably through a crowd of players and a goalkeeper, and although obviously it does happen, the chances that it's going to go from the corner kick through probably the best part of maybe
3 or 4
10 players and a goalkeeper is just unlikely, really. So for those reasons, I don't think it is that surprising that you don't see that many of them. But
no, fair enough.
There were some which you'll all be relieved to know I'm not going to bore you with, but there's a lot of research being done online or published online about how effective corner kicks are in terms of creating goal opportunities. But I thought that was a bit much for this episode because it's a lot of detail. But, there we go.
Are they more effective or less effective?
I think the sort of general consensus I seem to get from reading the articles was they're not that effective at all at causing goals.
That doesn't surprise me.
So yeah, compared with other sort of things, like free kicks, etc., they don't create as many goals as perhaps you might think was the sort of the long and short of the research that I saw. But so there we go. Those are the fun facts. So I'm not. I know that our next episode we're going to record out and we're going to deal with some of our listener questions. And I'm going to have to give some thought.
We're going to do a little.
What's next?
Yeah, we're going to do a little sort of slight change of format now, aren't we? So we're going to do a separate Q&A episode as well. So kind of like we'll have a normal episode like this where we chatter, and then we'll do a specific Q&A episode. So if you want to get your questions read and answered, because we're getting a lot of them, and we think they deserve the right space and time, and we like that kind of coaching time that we give to you on them. Don't forget to join the WhatsApp listener community that we have going. The link is in the show notes. It's growing slowly but surely, which is wonderful. And there's a little group within that forum where you can post your questions, and then we'll get back to them. And it's just a nice way for us to collate them all in one place and to have a bit of interaction with all of our loyal listeners. So yeah, it's called the Loyal Listener WhatsApp Community, I think is what we've called it, isn't it? And the link's in the show notes. So do that, and then you're going to get, some weeks, hopefully we're going to get 2 episodes out, one normal one and one Q&A one, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, the nice thing about the WhatsApp groups is that sort of obviously some people are sort of posing questions that they want us to feature on the show, but they're also just people asking questions of their fellow referees and sort of asking people's opinions about, often they're sort of talking about an incident that happened in their game and telling each other what they did and just sort of inviting a bit of sort of friendly, constructive feedback from other people. So it's really good. So if you're not involved in that, get yourself involved. But also you can obviously still contact us with your questions and queries through the usual social media channels or via the email. So there we go, Adam. I think that's it for this week's episode.
All done.
So nice to see you again.
Likewise, my friend.
And I think we need to go back to me recording in the evening so that you can be sober when we record in future.
Well, I quite like the fact
to
that
everybody's benefit.
I quite like the fact that tables have turned. It's nice. Because in order to record in my morning, I have to get up at like 4 a.m. in order to do it, to make it a reasonable hour for you. Whereas this is reasonable for both of us.
That,
exactly.
don't have that degree of commitment.
I don't think anyone wants to see you at 4 a.m. either, Ed. So there we go.
That's simply not a very nice way to end the podcast, is it?
Right. I'm sorry, my friend.
I'm off to go do some walking.
All right, my friend.
Have a good day.
Speak to you later. Good luck, mate.
Ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for making it to the end of another episode of Red or Yellow. You're clearly a very fit listener. May I gently remind you to like and subscribe to this podcast in your podcast app. That way, when we release a new episode, our meandering chats will magically appear on your phone. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to share it with one of your friends when they ask for a podcast recommendation. Word of mouth goes a long way, and no more so than yours. Don't forget, you can get 10% off any refereeing equipment that you might need if you head to processports.com and use the code REDORYELLOW10 at checkout. Thank you so much for listening this week, and don't forget to follow us on social media. It's at Red or Yellow Pod, and please feel free to send us any questions that you may have via DM, or you can email redoryellowpod@gmail.com. We cannot wait to speak to you again very, very soon. Ciao, ciao.